line. Now R equal to rho L by A, rho equal to R A upon L. So what is specific resistance? Resistance per unit length and area of cross section is per unit length. That is, specific resistance is resistance per unit length and of area of the cross section area is unit. So specific resistance does not depend on length, does not depend on area of cross section. Okay. Now see here, it depends on the material of the subconductor. That is, what is the materials of the conductor? Okay. So for each material, it is constant. That is clear. It is a characteristic property of the material, of the substance. That is, depends on the material. Okay. For example, copper and aluminum we take. For copper, it is less. For aluminum, it is more. And second, it depends on temperature. How it depends on temperature? We have seen for conductors, with increasing temperature, resistance increases, specific resistance increases, or resistivity increases. This is clear. For semiconductors, it's reverse. Okay. Now we can start with electromotive force. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, one more doubt can you tell? That the tin and the lead alloy, why the tin and lead alloys are used for fuse wire?
Okay, see here what are the characteristic property of a fuse wire? What property should fuse wire have? Melting point. Its melting point should be
Low.
low. It should be low. And its resistance, or we can specific resistance, should be just more than. Mainly for the wiring in the house, we use copper and aluminum. For wiring in homes, we use copper and aluminum. Okay, it means whatever fuse wire we have, it must have just more specific resistance as compared to copper and aluminum. And this fuse wire must have low melting point as well. So whenever, if the safe limit, so if the limit is exceeded current, as the current in the fuse wire increases, flow increases, heat will be generated. Heat will be generated because of resistance, and since its melting point is low, it will melt. It will open the circuit. What will happen to the copper wire or aluminum wire? It will be, it won't affect or it won't damage your wiring of the house. So we must have the material. This fuse wire must be made up of such material whose melting point is low and specific resistance is just more than copper and aluminum. Therefore, such material is lead and tin alloy. If you make an alloy of lead and tin, it is having melting point very low as well, specific resistance just more than copper and aluminum. Because of these properties, lead and alloy of tin and alloy have. Therefore, we are using fuse wire made up of alloy of tin and lead. Understood now? Any more doubts?
Sir, you told to ask questions.
No.
Okay, questions I'll be asking afterwards. Let me complete some of the electromotive force. So each day I'll be asking some questions. Okay. Last 5 to 10 minutes will take.
Yes, sir.
And I'll be asking questions from it. Okay. So we can start from electromotive force. So as you all know, what drives the current in a circuit? If we have any circuit, when the circuit is closed, what drives the current in the circuit? Or what makes the electrons to flow? What makes the electrons to the circuit? That is, we are having a cell connected. So something is happening inside the cell that makes the electrons to flow. That makes the electrons to flow from negative terminal to positive terminal. This is the flow of electrons, and current flows in opposite direction. This is the flow of current. So what makes the flow of electrons or flow of the current? It's the cell. That is something happening inside the cell. There is some force, some driving force inside the cell that is forcing the electrons to flow. That is, electrons are set into motion by some force. Okay, that force is called as electromotive force, or we name it EMF in short. Electromotive force. Okay, now how this force is generated? That is, something is happening inside the cell. That is, some chemical reaction is taking place inside the cell. Some chemical reaction is taking place inside the cell. That reaction is making the electrons or forcing the electrons to flow in the circuit. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, see here we are having a cell. Okay. One electrode, other electrode. Two electrodes we have. So these are the two terminals of the cell. These are the two terminals of the cell. These are the electrodes. Now, so, and it is filled with what?
Dilute sulfuric acid.
And what is that? It's an electrolyte. It's an electrolyte. So, in a cell, we have two rods or two plates we have. These are called as
Excuse me, sir.
these are the two terminals for the cell. Okay, two plates we have inserted in an electrolyte. Okay, and in this cell, in this vertex cell, we have one copper plate, other of zinc plate. And here we have placed electrolyte is what? Dilute sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4. We have dilute sulfuric acid. Okay. Now see what will happen. It will dissociate. So see here, some chemical reaction will be taking place continuously inside the cell, and because of that chemical reaction, the electrons will be flowing in the circuit. Because of that chemical reaction, there will be continuous flow of electrons. So chemical reaction, because of chemical reaction, there is a continuous flow of electrons, and if there is a continuous flow of electrons, we can say a constant potential difference is maintained across the terminals. A constant potential difference is maintained across the terminal. So for the continuous flow of electrons, a constant potential difference must be maintained, and that how we maintain? That is, chemical reaction is continuously taking place. Because of that, continuous flow of electrons is taking place, and since continuous flow of electron is there, we can say there is a constant potential difference maintained. Okay. Now we have taken this voltaic cell, and what is happening inside this cell? So we have the electrolyte H2SO4 dilute electrolyte. That means H2SO4 and H2O we have, water we have. So this H2SO4, that is diluted, dissociates with into H plus ions and SO4 2 minus. So we have SO4 2 minus and H plus ions. H plus SO4 2 minus 2 minus 2 minus. Okay, these ions, it is anion or cation. It is negatively charged. It will be anion because ions are formed in the electrolyte. There will be flow of the ions. We have studied ions flow, positive ions and negative ions. Positive ions, they are the cations. Negative ions, they are the anions. Okay. Because of flow of ions in the electrolyte, there is a flow of charge. There is a flow of charge. This we have studied. Now, these SO4 2 minus ions, that is negatively charged ions, they move towards Zn. Okay. They move towards Zn and they impart electrons to it. They impart electrons to it. Okay. So our Zn will have the excess of electrons and it will be our negatively charged. This Zn plate, it will be negatively charged. Understood this one? And here we have H plus ions, that is positive ions, cations, and because of this, when they move towards copper, on copper, what will happen? Since they lack electrons, they are positively charged. They will gain electrons from copper. They will gain electrons from copper, these H plus ions. So it will be our positively charged. It will be our positively charged. Understood this one? Okay. Now see here. Mainly we take anode as positive electrode, cathode as
Negative.
negative electrode. Okay. Mainly we take. But in cell, what we are going to take? In cell, negative is considered as anode and positive as cathode. It's in cell, galvanic cell and all those cells. It is being considered. Okay. Always remember this one. Anode we mainly take as positive, cathode we take as negative. But here, the electrode having negative charge, we are taking as anode. It's just inside. And positive charge we are taking as cathode. This thing is clear. Now, because of this, it has excess of electrons, and because of this, copper electrode will have deficiency of electron, that is positively charged.
Sir, can we use HCl?
HCl. Okay, I have to check that one once. You can use dilute HCl as well, but there's much more chemistries involved. That is, Cl must electron affinity. Okay, forget it. I'm not. I have to see that one once. Okay. Okay, this is clear. So we have discussed electrolyte. Here we have taken H2SO point water. It dissociates into positive and negative ions. Negative ions, they move towards they impart electrons, and zinc electrode becomes negatively charged. Whereas H plus ions, that is cations, positive ions, they move towards copper electrode, and since they will take away the electrons from copper, it will become positively charged. This is clear. Now you can see there is a difference created between them. Here we have excess of electrons. On this terminal we have efficiency of electron. Now, if it is connected in external circuit, any load is connected in external circuit, what will happen? They will try to equalize. So electrons will start to flow. From zinc, electrons will start to flow towards copper plate in external circuit. And inside, ions are moving. Inside the electrolyte, ions are moving, and outside, electrons are moving. Understood this one? So we have two circuits here. In this circuit, outside circuit and inside circuit. So outside circuit, electrons are moving. Inside circuit, what are moving? Ions are moving. Okay. So when no current is drawn, the potential difference between these two terminals is called as EMF. That is called as electromotive force. That is called as electromotive force. Understood this one? When no external circuit is connected, no load is connected across the terminals, it's open. These terminals are open. The potential difference between these two terminals, between these two electrodes, that is denoted with EMF. The potential difference is denoted with EMF. Okay, that is called as EMF. Okay. Now it is denoted with epsilon. This is the symbol used for EMF, epsilon. Okay, and its unit will be what? It's a potential difference. So volt will be unit. Okay, so we have discussed its symbol and unit. Okay. Now, for example, some external load is being connected. External load is connected. Okay. When some external electrons flow in the cells. 1 second. Okay. So see what will happen now when load is connected. Here we have excess of electrons. So these electrons will flow. These electrons will flow from negative cathode, negative electrode to positive electrode. These electrons will flow, and current will flow in which direction? From copper plate to zinc plate. That is from positive electrode to negative electrode in the outside circuit. This is clear. And the force, what is making it to flow? That is the potential difference, and that potential difference is called EMF. The potential difference is called EMF. So, what is this doing? It's EMF is doing the work. How EMF we can define in terms of work done? EMF is the work done on per unit positive charge. So, if we are transferring a positive charge from zinc plate, if we are transferring a positive charge, okay, from here we are transferring. If we are transferring positive charge in the outside circuit as well as inside the circuit, that is inside the cell. So, we are transferring positive charge through the complete circuit. That is, we are moving from here one electrode to the other electrode. Okay. Then the same charge we are moving inside the cell. We are moving inside the cell. So that amount of work done per unit charge. EMF is defined as amount of work done or energy spent. It is the amount of energy spent in transferring per unit charge through the complete circuit, that is outside as well as inside. So EMF is the energy spent or work done per unit charge in moving it in complete circuit or external circuit, then inside the cell as well. So this is how EMF is defined. This is clear. EMF of a cell is defined as the energy spent per unit charge in taking the positive unit charge through the complete circuit. Through the complete circuit, always remember, through the complete circuit, that is outside the cell as well inside the cell. That is electromotive force. Now, what are the factors on which EMF depends? EMF depends. See here, EMF depends on the material of the electrodes, depends on the material of the electrodes, of what these electrodes are made. So, material of electrode, and on what second it will depend. Two factors depend: electrodes and electrolyte. What kind of electrolyte we are using? Whether how much it is diluted, how much it is concentrated, or which kind of electrolyte we are using, it depends. It depends on the electrolyte used. Okay, so these are the two factors on which EMF depends. Okay, if you vary these things, there will be different amount of EMF generated. Okay, like different cells, they have different electrodes, different electrolyte. They will have different amount of EMF. Okay, some cell may have 1.1 volt, some may have 1.5 volt, some may have 1.8 volt. Okay, depending on the material of the electrode and the electrolyte used. These are the two factors on which EMF depends. On which EMF depends. This is clear? So varying these things,
Yes,
we can
yes,
vary the
sir.
amount of EMF generated. So for example, we have the voltaic cell. It has 1.08 volt. Voltaic cell, it has 1.0 volt. Daniel cell, it has 1.08 volt. Or Leclanché cell, it has 1.5 volt. Okay. And EMF does not depend on what factors. EMF does not depend on what factor? It does not depend on the shape of the electrodes. It does not depend on shape of the electrodes, distance of the electrodes, and the amount of the electrolyte. Okay. So EMF does not depend on shape of the electrode. What kind of shape of the electrode we use? It does not depend on shape of electrodes. Now, how far they are, it doesn't matter. Distance between electrodes, it doesn't depend on that. It as well does not depend on amount of the electrolyte. So always remember, on what EMF depends? It depends on the kinds of electrode. That is, what material of which these electrodes are made up of, and what kind of electrolyte we have used. Different electrolytes, different EMF generated. Different electrodes, different EMF generated. And what EMF does not depend? It does not depend on shape and size, right? What kind of shape we are using of the electrodes, or what distance we have kept these electrodes, and what is the amount of electrolyte taken. It does not depend on these factors, EMF. So EMF is clear. So one thing you have to remember, EMF means amount of work done per unit positive charge in transferring it through the complete circuit. Complete circuit means outside the cell as well as inside the cell. Outside as well inside the cell. This is clear. Next we discuss terminal voltage. Okay, so EMF we have measured when they are up in terminals, that is no load is connected. What is the potential difference between these two terminals, between these two electrodes? When, see here, we have kept it open. Now, what is the potential difference between these two terminals? That will be our EMF. That will be our EMF. So, how to measure this EMF? We connect it with what we measure. Potential difference is measured with an instrument called voltmeter. So we connect across it. And what kind of voltmeter we must use? Which is having high resistance. That is, current should not flow very high. That is, very less or negligible amount of current must flow through the voltmeter. So voltmeter must have high resistance. Voltmeter must have high resistance. So we can measure the EMF using high resistance voltmeter. So EMF is the potential difference between the up in terminals. Okay. Or second way we have defined the amount of work done in transferring per unit charge through the complete circuit, that is outside the cell as well as inside the cell. Now different term we use terminal voltage. Terminal voltage. So here, see here, when some load is connected, okay, on the terminals of the cell, now what amount of potential difference is available between these two terminals? What amount of potential difference is there between these terminals? That will be called as terminal voltage. So here, when the current is drawn through the circuit, when the current is drawn through the circuit, what is the potential difference across these terminals? That will be called as terminal voltage. It is different from EMF. It is different from EMF. How? Now see a second definition of terminal voltage. Second definition is if we are transferring, that is, if we are, this is terminal voltage, work done per unit positive charge in transferring it in the external circuit only. That is, from this terminal we are transferring, we are moving positive charge to this terminal. So how much is work done in transferring the voltage, in transferring the unit positive charge in external circuit, no internal circuit. That is, not inside the electrolyte, we are transferring just outside. That will be our terminal, that is the work done per unit positive charge. Here I represent W dash. Okay. W we have taken in case of EMF, that is work done in transferring through the complete circuit. That is outside as well as inside. That was for EMF. Work done, and EMF was W upon Q. It is complete circuit. Work done in transferring or in moving a unit positive charge in complete circuit, that is outside as well as inside. Whereas in terminal voltage, it is just outside the cell. So, work done in moving unit positive charge between the terminals in external circuit. So here we are not transferring, we are not considering the work done in moving inside the cell. So which will be more? EMF is more or terminal voltage will be more? Anyone in class? Which will be more? EMF or the terminal voltage?
So terminal voltage.
No. See here. Here EMF, what is the amount of work done? Outside you have to work as well as inside. Okay. Here only outside you have to work. So it will be less work done. In terminal voltage it will be less work done for per unit positive charge. Here work done will be more because outside we are working in case of EMF. We are working outside as well as inside the cell. In terminal voltage we are working only outside the cell. Therefore, EMF will be greater than terminal voltage. Okay, by what amount it is greater? That is the work done in transferring positive charge inside the cell. By that amount, we denote with W. So it is greater than by what amount? Work done in transferring per unit positive charge inside the cell. And this is called as voltage drop. Okay. So we end here. We'll discuss it tomorrow again. Okay. So go through this EMF, terminal voltage, and voltage drop. Okay. These three terms you must go through that. Okay. We'll discuss them again. EMF will discuss, terminal voltage will discuss, and voltage drop we are discussing again tomorrow. Okay. Any doubt you have?